actually a very big issue for an awful lot of parents right now. And this is legal fears over gender guidance for schools. Front page of the Times today. The Prime Minister is expected to delay issuing trans guidance for schools. It was expected this week. Looks like it's going to be delayed even till close to September when schools return after the summer holidays, after the Attorney General and other government lawyers warned that their plans to strengthen that guidance would be unlawful. This is over, well, Kemi Badenoch, the Women and Equalities Minister, who's very sound on this issue, had pushed for the guidance to be hardened. Bit of a backlash from the usual collection of people, but the draft guidance stated that children should be allowed to socially transition, but only with the consent of their parents. But the trouble is, they also looked at whether or not, they actually could be a total ban on social transitioning in schools. It was concluded that move would be unlawful, and the government would need new legislation if they wanted to go further. A big issue also of whether or not teachers would be required to basically agree that a boy was now a girl or a girl was now a boy. Let's talk about this with Kevin Lister, who's spokesman for the Bad Law Project and was himself dismissed from a job at New College in Swindon for refusing to socially transition a student without parental consent. Good morning to you, Kevin.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us. Look, you've lived and breathed the reality of this. I have very big issues with any teacher or head teacher, anyone working in a school, being required to basically go along with the whims of a possibly, disturbed child, unhappy child, saying, I know I was born a girl, but I now think I'm a boy, call me John, and my pronouns are now he, him. I wouldn't go along with being required to lie like that, but the question is whether or not teachers should be or not.
This is crazy. It is beyond all kind of common sense, and the government is still, after huge evidence of harm, not doing anything about it. The government are fundamentally failing in their duty to protect the citizens from extremists.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the key thing, because this is about an extremist ideology. I'm sorry if my bank's going to close my account now, but we're not talking about not being welcoming and open to children who are gay or bisexual or have concerns about their gender identity. It's not about that. It's about whether you are basically affirming the mistaken belief that a child has that they are born in the wrong body.
Exactly, and a teacher has got a significant impact on this. If a teacher supports a child's belief that they are in the wrong body, that affirmation from an adult in authority has an enormous impact, enormous. So the debate then moves on. If a teacher is compelled to go along with this fantasy in the class, then what is the implication on the other students in the class? Do all the other students then have to follow what the teacher does? Or does the teacher stand in front looking
we've seen
an
this.
idiot?
We had that tape recording of two girls really articulately and very politely and respectfully arguing back with a teacher who's insisting that there are 82 genders. They were saying no, but there are only two, and this person's self-identifying as a cat or whatever. Well, they're not. I mean, they're not a cat, and they're not. If a girl says they're a boy, they're not a boy. They're still a girl. I've had this conversation with a 16-year-old recently. Only myself, and I'm just saying, look, I'm not being rude. I'm just saying I don't accept your claim. It's not backed up by the biological facts. Now, you lost your job for saying, look, there must at least be parental consent to this, and there are a lot of parents who are really worried that their children are basically being told this stuff. Most parents do not realise that in many schools, not all, some schools are standing up to this madness, but an awful lot of them are finding it difficult to stand up to it. They're not getting the backing from the government. They're actually, Stonewall and Mermaids have got this ideology into our schools, into teacher training colleges, into all over YouTube. That if you're a good person, if you're a nice person, if you're not a transphobic bigot, then you will affirm this stuff. And yes, it's perfectly normal that if you don't feel quite yourself, if you feel a bit uneasy about your body through adolescence, you're probably born in the wrong body. This is abject nonsense. It's factually, biologically untrue. But this is what young people are being told, and parents don't realise that's what kids are being told in school.
That's right, and the important thing is that this is political indoctrination. There is no evidence at all, zero, to suggest that it's helpful, beneficial in any way to encourage a child to believe this and to progress on to cross-sex hormone surgeries and so forth.
And there's plenty of evidence that it's very damaging.
Correct. And what was extraordinary was in the in the FOI, in the Freedom of Information request that was done to release all the documentation between the Tavistock and Mermaids, the Department for Education was implicated in that. And there was there's an awful agreement at the beginning between the Tavistock, between Mermaids, between the DfE to push this into schools, to ignore safeguarding, and that is completely and utterly illegal. It violates the Education Act, it violates political indoctrination. The Equality Act is quite clear. There's Part 6 on the Equality Act that states what the obligations are for schools. There is no obligation in schools to support the transitioning of young people at all.
Exactly, and we know there's a massive issue with social contagion. If one school has it, I know of a school in North London where this is just rife. That happens with people are being, especially young girls now. They are looking at social media, YouTube videos, and they're just being told, "Oh, if you're unhappy, this is probably what the issue is. This is the solution." This is a horrible lie, and it's a political ideology. And parents can't fight it if they don't know about it. And the important thing is they know about it and they fight it. But the key thing, I don't think the government is doing enough. I think they're just wringing their hands and, oh, we don't want to be thought of as bigots. You're not a bigot for standing up for facts and children's safety.
That's right. And what we are now doing is suing the government. We're going to sue the Department for Education for their negligence in the face of foreseeable harm. They have.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love it, and this is where we have to go. This is what we have to do to make sure the government's act on behalf of.
We have a large number of parents now whose lives have been utterly destroyed by this ideology. Their right to family life has been totaled. It is appalling what has happened to these people. The stories are heartbreaking.
I know parents going through it. It is absolutely. Kevin is fantastic work at the Bad Law Project. He's spokesman. He himself lost his job because he refused to play along with this.